Master Duel's been popping off since its release in 2022, still currently in the top charts on Steam for strategy and card games, and even getting the attention of some bigger Twitch streamers. But what about real-life dueling, the one that's been around for years before the release of Master Duel? The vibe of hanging with your friends, acting like a bunch of anime protagonists, dueling on your dining room table, or even traveling to events around the world, competing against complete strangers, some of these events bringing in thousands of duelists. Which of these sounds more appealing to you? I'm going to give you an in-depth comparison so that you can decide for yourself. What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and the TCG and going over the pros and cons of each. Not only to help you decide which one you like more, because to be honest, there's always the option to play both, but to help you decide if you are a TCG player, why you should give Master Duel a chance, and vice versa, if you're a Master Duel player, why you should give the TCG a chance. I think that should be the main goal of this video. So we're not going to be talking about like different formats and why Master Duel sucks because Maxi is legal. I wanted to touch more on what you actually do as a player, like how you spend your time, how much money you're expected to put down, even some issues pertaining to women in the community if you're a female presenting duelist, just because I feel like I can speak on that as a woman who's been playing the TCG for over 5 years. So let's dive into this, starting with Master Duel. I've been playing Master Duel on and off since it's released. One thing I've noticed, and we've talked about this in my chat over at twitch.tv/stealthyYGO, I stream every Sunday and Monday, how much cheaper it is compared to the TCG. Over the past 5 years, I have spent thousands, literally thousands of dollars on Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, from deck building to tournament entry, travel, things like that. Sleeves, which don't last very long, so you have to keep buying more packs of sleeves, and that kind of adds up. But back to deck building, I think that's the most important, like, money sinker. With the format changing so frequently, you could be spending close to like $500 for a deck, only for it to become unplayable months later. And trying to sell those cards will net you like a $20 return. Master Duel, on the other hand, I don't think I put more than $20 into the game since the release, and I've had this Sourceful deck that's kind of lasted me a good year. And anytime I want to sell anything or dismantle, you kind of get the same amount back for every card. It's not dependent on the card, like the TCG is very dependent on the market. Like if the TCG were kind of like Master Duel and your deck is good, you dismantle it for like 300 UR points, but if it's no longer good, you get like 1 UR point back. Like, I don't know if I'm making sense like that, but that's kind of how like the TCG feels to me compared to Master Duel. I think it's definitely more financially worth it to invest in Master Duel rather than the TCG. Apart from cost, that was the big one, there's also a few small benefits I found that makes my dueling experience a little better on Master Duel. I don't know if I can say the C word, but you don't have to worry about misconduct or not playing cards correctly. The game literally doesn't let you. It doesn't let your opponent misplay. It doesn't let your opponent not play the cards correctly. I hate to say this, but this is so common in the TCG, it's ridiculous. It might not even be on purpose. It might just be people not knowing what their cards do or how they interact. People forgetting if they activated a card earlier that turn, so they try to activate it again. Human error that wouldn't necessarily happen on a computer simulator. And as a TCG player, it's kind of your job to not only play the game, but watch your opponent play too. Like, you have to keep this sort of vigilance about yourself and awareness as to what they're doing, because at least in my experience, some people might accidentally pull one over on you, or they might not know how their cards work, and unfortunately, you kind of have to monitor that. And that's exhausting for someone who just wants to have a fair game. On a similar note, you basically have no interaction with your opponent on Master Duel besides like dueling them. There's no chat feature. I find this a potential benefit because, again, in my personal experience, there are some characters out there that I have had to duel against at in real life tournament that just made dueling not fun for me. Some people can be jerks when their ego's on the line and they don't like losing. They'll act extremely toxic and say some like hateful stuff. I do want to say most people are not like this, but at least for me, I average running into like at least 1 to 2 jerks per YCS or regional. Not locals, not so much locals. One guy at a regional was like so mad, he stood up in the middle of the duel and just stood there like this, staring at me with like the scowl on his face. And I was like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like jump over the table and deck me in the face? At a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament? Really? This weirdly enough brings me to my next point, and this is for the ladies, anyone presenting female. Yu-Gi-Oh is a male-dominated hobby. Unfortunately, what that means is that you will attract some attention at a Yu-Gi-Oh event. Could be good attention, could be bad attention. Every tournament I go to, the ratio is about 100 guys to 1 girl. I guess that's just how it is, so be prepared to be stared at when you walk into the room. It's kind of weird, but like usually it's harmless. It's just like, oh wow, there's a girl here. That's unusual. Like you don't see that every day. But every now and then you'll get the creeps and the weirdos that will try to hit on you or put you down and make you feel like you don't belong there. This is again solved in Master Duel because you have the power of online anonymity. Something I've always loved about video games and why I rarely use my microphone in first-person shooters is that they don't know you're a girl, they're not going to treat you any differently. You can be treated as an equal and they'll just assume you're a guy. Speaking of feeling weird and out of place, I feel like another benefit to Master Duel is just the fact that you can duel in the comfort of your own home. Maybe some of you are like me and a little bit agoraphobic. Maybe you want to chill in your PJs and like have a cozy blanket and your dog sleeping next to you while you just own people with your sword pull deck. I feel like there's no greater comfort than being yourself in the privacy of your own house versus being out in public where the bathrooms are dirty, getting water costs like $5, don't even think about getting food at the concession stands. The chairs are sometimes really uncomfortable. Like I got back pain once the day after a regional just from sitting on some busted ass chairs all day. And the final benefit I see in Master Duel is the speed of duels, or I guess like the speed in which plays are made. If you only play Master Duel, you have to understand the other side of this. In the TCG, there's no clock, like, okay, like there is a clock, but there's no timer counting down each move that you and your opponent make. There is a rule that duelists are expected to play at a reasonable speed, but there's no like timer to really keep track of things like that. And a lot of players complain about slow playing and how that can lead to someone to lose in time. That doesn't exist in Master Duel, which is awesome. Each player gets penalized for running out of time on their own. As a TCG player who hates going to time, this is a huge benefit for me. Now onto the cons, why Master Duel might not be as enticing as the TCG for some folks. Number one, I feel like some people just don't like clicking buttons. And there's a lot of button clicking to be done. Not only to play your cards, but Master Duel has to ask you, like, do you have responses to things? How you want to order your chain links, stuff like that. It's a lot of clicking as opposed to in real life play, where you really just do most of that in your head and then you respond verbally with like 1 to 2 words each. I feel like it also increases the risk of misplaying by misclicking. I've been guilty of that so many times, especially when streaming, because I'll be talking to chat and getting distracted, and then it asks me if I want to summon my Longyun token, and I'll click no, and then chat flames me for the rest of the duel. Another unfortunate issue I've been having with Master Duel is the quality of players, at least below Master rank and during events, because that's as far as I've gotten so far. There's a lot of folks who auto-quit, rage quit, play self-burn decks, stuff that you don't really see at real-life tournaments because everyone there wasted money and time to get to that tournament. And they're just there to win. They're there to like try their hardest to win. So you get these like really detailed, skillful matches that really brings out the problem-solving aspect of the game and like why we all love the game so much. Lastly, and kind of related to the last point, is the format of single duels versus best of 3. I personally believe that best of 3s are less rage-inducing and more fun because you don't auto-lose to things like bricking or losing the die roll, not having the right counters for a specific deck. So if you're the same as me, you'll enjoy real-life Yu-Gi-Oh! More. If those things don't matter to you that much, then ignore this point. So that's my pros and cons for Master Duel. Let's move on to the TCG now. For the pros, we have the social aspect of the game. Making friends is hard, especially as an adult. Most, if not all of my current friends are from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Going to locals, meeting like-minded people. Even my boyfriend and I met through Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of what I love about the TCG, as corny as it might sound, is the bonds that you make with other people while playing the game. You can't really get that with Master Duel, or at least it's a lot harder because you'd have to like meet them outside of the client on Discord or Reddit or something like that, Second is the travel you get to do and the quality of in-person events that they host. This is actually my most favorite part of the TCG because before playing, I never really had a reason to travel to random cities across the US or the world for that matter. Joining the competitive scene and wanting to travel to like YCSs and nationals every year has brought my introverted ass out of the house, out of my hometown, and led me to these great experiences that I had with friends. So yeah, that's a huge benefit I see that you can't get from gaming on your computer at home. Obviously, this is only if you immerse yourself in the bigger competitive scene. You don't have to travel, you can just go to locals and stuff. I know not everyone has a job or the funds to travel, but for me personally, that's where most of my paycheck goes to, is saving up for these trips, and it's worth it. Most people save up for vacations every year. I save up to go to YCSs and nationals every year. Another interesting benefit, well, this could be like a benefit to some, not for me personally, but I've heard others say this, is like the mind games aspect, or like almost like the poker aspect of playing the game in real life. The bluffs that you can do with your body language plays an important role in the psychology of dueling. I don't think many people talk about this, but it could be like playing poker at times, where like your facial expressions kind of matter. I personally don't like this because I have a terrible poker face, so I can't relate. And lastly, I guess just the physical fixation. Like, I don't know, there's just something that feels really good touching physical cards, shuffling your hand. It kind of makes you feel like a full anime character. I don't know if I should put that in. Maybe someone out there can relate to that with me. Onto the cons. I've already touched most of this while listing Master Duel's pros, but cost is a huge con. I know it puts a lot of people off how expensive it can be to play this game and to keep up. Also, dealing with people in real life can mean dealing with jerks sometimes. The length of duels can put people off. So like a real life Yu-Gi-Oh match is a best of 3 that takes around 45 minutes to an hour, compared to Master Duel, which is on average, at least for me, like 5 to 10 minutes per duel. And lastly, again, if you are female presenting, things can get weird for you. You'll definitely get a lot of attention at a real life event. It can be positive attention, it could be negative, it could be neutral. Most of the time it's neutral, but you'll stick out like a disco ball in a library. Now it's time for me to tell you which one is better. Get ready, drum roll please. There's no right answer. It's all dependent on what you value more. I personally am liking Master Duel a little bit more lately, but I'll always play both. I don't think I'll ever choose one or the other. Master Duel is so convenient for when I feel like playing at home, but at the same time, I want to go out and socialize with my Yu-Gi-Oh friends. I love going to locals and events. Each platform offers its own unique experience, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments which dueling method you prefer and why. Let me know if there are any pros or cons that I might have missed that you think are important. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!